All right, you're good.
All right. If there's any points where it's awkward and I don't respond quickly, it's because sometimes your audio cuts out. Um,
Okay.
but I can edit that so it sounds good if you just repeat what you say. If it's awkward, like if I don't answer right away and stuff. Um, okay. Yeah. I'll start in a minute. Welcome to the Eephus, episode 24. We've officially reached mid-May. Today is May 15th. I'm Justin Ledger. I'm here with Zach Hummel. Zach, today is the 1-year anniversary of the Rugnetador punch. I just wanted to throw that out there at the beginning of this episode. It's been 1 year since one of the greatest fights in baseball history, so just wanted to give that a little shout out. We got a pretty good show today. A lot of topics. I didn't think we were going to have many topics. Lately, baseball has been pretty busy. This past week wasn't exactly busy, but we had some off-the-field stuff, which we'll get into a little later with Ortiz. I think that was probably the biggest story of the week. But we'll start off with our favorite stories each. I'll start here. Kevin Kiermaier. We've talked about in the past how this guy, I mean, we have that little clip of us saying he's a good-looking dude, but he's kind of burst on the scene as one of the best center fielders, not just right now, but maybe ever, defensively. He's outstanding in center field, but he had an abysmal week out in center field defensively against the Royals. And that series was mainly it against the Royals. He was fine in Boston against the Red Sox, but against the Royals, he made some crucial mistakes. He let that one ball by him I think it was hit by Lorenzo Cain. It was a Little League home run then. Then Jorge Bonifacio hits a ball. Pretty much same exact thing. Gets on. It wasn't inside the park home run or anything like that, but that was a crucial mistake. And then another Little League home run to another. I forget who it was who hit it. I think it was Whit Merrifield, actually. Another Little League home run. That's unheard of, not only by one of the best defensive center fielders ever, but, I mean, any center fielder. 2 Little League homers and another error in the same series. It's insane. That's my favorite story of the week.
Yeah, opposed from him being a great center fielder, he's also one good-looking guy. Like, I think we did that on an earlier episode.
Yeah. We had him as one of our bachelors. You can look back in the Bachelor episode for that one. But, yeah, I mean, Kiermaier has everything going for him. He did not have much going for him in this series.
I think he's one of these guys that's like so cocky because he has so much speed that sometimes he overestimates like how fast he actually is, and he overcompensates and he kind of tries to run down balls he has no chance of getting, and that's how the inside the park home runs happen. I mean, that's how the one, I think it was Lorenzo Cain actually that happened to, and Kiermaier let it go by him. And you know, that happens when you have speedy guys like that. Every center fielder ever that has speed thinks they can get to every ball, and they pride themselves on getting to every ball. So yeah, it doesn't really surprise me that Kiermaier, is letting these balls go by him because he's playing aggressive, but also it's like at least he's going to the balls. At least he's not letting bloops fall in. So, I mean, we'll have to keep an eye on Kiermaier to see if he keeps it up.
I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's known as one of the best defensive center fielders for a reason, but I wrote in the blog about this. His weakness might be hard grounders up the middle. Maybe he has serious issues with that. I mean, he has some great range out in center field. I mean, that's what he's most known for. So maybe the key to getting past him is hitting hard grounders up the middle. Maybe he has problems getting that glove down. I don't know really what the deal is, but he had a really tough week.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay turf is driving him nuts. You know, that I would be kind of worried about that because you never know when there's a little bump there where the ball could just jump over your glove and now you're running back and trying to get it. But at least he doesn't have like the yips where you just can't catch a fly ball because that would be big trouble. So at least it's not too bad. You know, at least he can make the routine fly ball plays anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully he can figure it out because if this continues, then we have a real story on our hands with Kiermaier. So what was your favorite story of the week?
So my favorite story is kind of, I guess, an off-the-field kind of thing, but that the Oakland Athletics are offering their fans $20 per month, and you can go to every game for that month. And it's like an app you can get on your phone. So if you decide last minute you want to go to the game, you sign up, pay the $20 at the beginning of the month, and you can go to any game for that whole month. And it's included within the $20. Obviously, us being Red Sox fans, that's the most insane concept to us because, tickets in the bleachers are like $30-$35 nowadays.
$20 at Fenway will get you 2 hot dogs. So we'll just put it that way.
Not
It's
even
insane.
in the building. Not even in the building, like 2 sausages outside.
Exactly. So yeah, that is pretty crazy. When you wrote that in our little topic list, I kind of gasped because that's just insane. But the fact that it's the Oakland A's makes a little more sense. I mean, that they definitely don't sell out every single game like Fenway does. So it sort of makes sense there for sure.
It's a great deal, though. I think teams that need to get fans to the ballpark should start doing this. Make you sign up on a monthly basis, so then you're more apt to go to the game just because, I paid the $20, I might as well go to the game tonight. And all the TV and all the owners only care about is seeing their stadium full, whether that's through a $20 flat fee or like $5 tickets every 4 days. So it's like, I think it's a good move, and I think I can see more teams doing it that struggle to sort of fill their building like the Oakland A's.
Yeah, absolutely. Another story this past week that really made headlines. Again, I would argue that this is probably the biggest story from the past week in the baseball world, especially when you're talking off the field stuff. David Ortiz coming out with this new book. It's called Poppy, My Story. Just pretty much like every Red Sox, I don't want to say great, but anyone who's sort of an icon of any sort in Boston seems like they come out with some sort of book. So David Ortiz, he's coming out with a book. And he ripped Bobby Valentine to shreds. And I mean, he ripped him apart good. Like, I didn't expect that type of thing from Ortiz. Ortiz is known to speak his mind, but I didn't think he would bring it to this level against Bobby Valentine. You can tell that there was some serious bad blood going on, at least from Ortiz's end, towards Valentine. What did you gather from this whole situation with them? I'll get into the details in a sec, but what did you get out of this?
Well, I'm just glad that Ortiz kind of spoke up for what everyone was thinking, whether that be the players or the fans. I mean, every Red Sox fan, when they heard Bobby Valentine was taking over as manager, was like taken aback, like, oh, this guy is kind of a clown. And he didn't prove us otherwise while he was manager of the Red Sox. I mean, he absolutely ran a funny farm inside the clubhouse. And some of the stories coming out of, spring training and during the season while he was at the helm were just so ridiculous. And it's such a change now that we have John Farrell. He's like the complete opposite of Bobby Valentine. That, Ortiz has been outspoken in the past. I mean, more about his contract and getting paid kind of thing.
RBIs.
Yeah, you haven't really heard him speak out on like certainly teammates you didn't like or in this case manager. So it was interesting in that case. And I hope Ortiz sort of, in the future speaks up on more things like this, because he's definitely probably one of the most respected voices in Boston in baseball. Like,
yeah, definitely. The details for this, of course, are I think the one thing I got most out of it was this Eephus thing, that whole Eephus story where Valentine said, don't call I got it if you're the shortstop going out into the outfield. If you're the outfielder, you can call I got it, but the shortstop shouldn't be going out there calling it because it's the outfielder's ball. Just basic baseball rules pretty much. Ortiz ripped Valentine on this, saying that he was too hard on Eephus. And that this quote is pretty much what took me aback the most. He said that if it were him that he was speaking to, Ortiz would have punched him in front of fans, players, everyone. Classic Ortiz, classic angry Ortiz. Don't think he really would have if that ever happened. I think he's playing, the big tough guy Ortiz act. That being said, I'd pay to watch that. That'd be fun to watch. And Valentine defended himself on this. He told the whole story exactly how I just said, how it's a basic baseball rule that if you're the shortstop, you don't go back and say, I got it. You either say nothing and catch it, or you wait until the outfielder calls you off, or else it's your ball. Basic baseball stuff. So I get where Valentine is coming from. I hated Valentine as the Red Sox manager as much as any other Red Sox fan. He just didn't belong in Boston, but I did have to kind of defend him on that because Ortiz is wrong in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, when you get to the major leagues, though, if you're trying to still teach players that stuff, it's almost like a moot point. Like, at the point you're at, you're just trying to keep everyone engaged and pumped up because it's such a long season that Valentine's one of these guys that he just like wears on you. I think everyone has a boss that just like will micromanage the shit out of you, and at some point you just like break down. You're like, "Fuck you, dude! Like, I don't even want to listen to you talk." And that's why I think that's why I'm with a lot of the Red Sox players, kind of going behind his back up to management and saying, "We want this guy fired. He's the jackass." So I think Ortiz was kind of speaking for that whole team that Valentine managed, and that this guy really got on everyone's nerves. And even though he might have had some good points, the way he came across was just this, arrogant douchebag.
Yeah, 100%. There was no point in that 2012 season where I was optimistic at all. So that speaks largely to the manager. I'm not a big Farrell guy either, but he's so ahead of Valentine in my mind that it's not even funny. So that gives you a look into how things were with Valentine anyway, even though we already knew it was pretty damn bad. More Red Sox stuff, more bad Red Sox stuff. I think the Red Sox are rushing David Price back way too soon. It seemed like last week or 2 weeks ago we were saying we didn't know what was going to go on with Price. We didn't know if it was going to be months. We didn't know if maybe he'd be out for the year because it's a tear in his elbow, like that's not little stuff. But David Price might be back next week, pitching in a Red Sox uniform. If not next week, they're saying it could be early June. I don't think that's going to happen. If they do bring Price back that early, I think this is only going to be a disaster. What do you think? Do you think they should bring Price back when they say they're bringing him back, or do you think they should seriously reconsider?
Yeah, I mean, I've hated this Price signing ever since the beginning. I just don't believe in paying a pitcher that age, that long of a deal, and for that much money. But now that we're stuck with him, I'm of the opinion that the Red Sox, Drew Pomeranz now had some stiffness after yesterday's start. So, what looked like a pretty robust starting rotation is now starting to look a little slim. So I'm actually for rushing Price back. Let's see what we got. If he hurts it even more, what is it? He's out for the season and then maybe next season as well.
Yeah.
And then he's a free agent, and he'll probably re-up anyways just because it's a player option. So the Red Sox are definitely between a rock and a hard place just because they need a starting pitcher, but also Price could this could affect Price for upcoming years. And, we have him under contract, so this is why I hate Dombrowski making these signings. We're just stuck with these guys that are injury-prone, like Thornburg and Smith, and now Price. And they're on the back end of their careers, and they have weird arm angles, and they don't really have good mechanics. And it all just comes to a head. So I think the Red Sox are rushing him back, but I really don't think they have another choice in this case.
Yeah, it's true. They're in a situation right now with that starting rotation, especially now that Drew Pomeranz is hurt. I don't know really the severity of his injury yet.
Stephen Wright, too.
What's that?
Stephen Wright, too.
Stephen Wright out for the year, so that's another big hit to that rotation. And then the next guys up are like Brian Johnson and Henry Owens, who I have zero faith in them, zero. So David Price coming back, I think they're headed for a disaster if he comes back this early. I think he makes one or two starts and realizes he just can't do it, and then he'll be out for the year. I just don't see what good can come out of saying, hey, David Price is coming back soon. Maybe to make the fans a little happier because they haven't been performing really that well lately. But I just don't see – I think the cons really outweigh the pros here, announcing that David Price is coming back. Because now you're getting everyone hyped up, like Price is back, Price is good, he's fine. Now if he gets hurt again, it's going to be hell. It's going to be hell to pay for the Red Sox.
Yeah, see, I would agree with your point saying that, the Red Sox ownership are the marketing kings. I think they make the players do the win, dance, repeat at this point in the outfield.
I know.
So they can put it on T-shirts, They can market it. But I would say that, but I think a lot of Red Sox fans have soured on Price. I know I have. I could care less at this point. It's not my money, so I could really kind of push that away. But, David Price back, does that really invigorate this team? To me, their issue is scoring runs at this point. So I don't know if it solves what their issue is.
Yeah, it's weird.
Now.
It's weird. They're having such a hard time scoring runs. Mookie Betts actually won the AL Player of the Week, so he's heating up, which is a great sign. But outside of him, there's some serious issues in that Boston offense. We talked with Carabas, obviously, a couple weeks ago, and we downplayed the issues with the offense, or he did especially. Carabas actually said that there's going to be no problems with this offense. I think even he would say right now that he changes his mind because there's a clear absence of a power bat in the middle of that lineup to sort of drive in the runs, drive in runners in scoring position. So this is a story that if they don't really figure it out quick, they're going to find themselves stuck in the middle of that division while the Yankees thrive because the Yankees don't have that problem. They have a couple guys in the middle of that lineup who will drive in runs in runners in scoring position, no problem. So if they don't figure that out, and now we'll get to this in a little bit, but the Blue Jays are surging. They're only 6.5 games behind. They have a lineup that's been performing lately too. So you got to look out. I mean, the Rays are better than we thought they would be. Still think they're going to be at the bottom of the division, but this is a more competitive division than I anticipated, at least going into this season. And if the Red Sox aren't going to have guys producing in the middle of that lineup, combine that with the struggles that they're having in that pitching staff, there's going to be some issues. That's pretty much all I have to say. I guess the negatives with the Red Sox, but there is one positive right now, and that's Craig Kimbrell. The guy is unhittable. I've never seen anything like it, at least recently, for a closer. Not even Aroldis Chapman. Nobody. Not Wade Davis when he was on the Royals a couple of years ago. No one. I haven't seen anyone this good at the closing position. Craig Kimbrell, who righties are 0 for 30 against him right now with 17 strikeouts. He's walked 2 of them, but who cares? I mean, that 0 for 30 with 17 strikeouts is insane. He pitched an immaculate inning this week, which, for those who don't know what an immaculate inning is, it's when you strike out the side on 9 pitches. Insane stuff. Someone sent in, our good friend Sean, a good friend of the show, Sean, sent in a tweet to the @Eephus pod, our official Twitter account for this podcast. And he said, "Am I drunk for thinking Craig Kimbrell is top 10 in Cy Young right now? AL Cy Young." And I don't think so. I think he can honestly make a case that he would round out that top 10 right this second for Cy Young. If you're going to put Zach Britton in that conversation last year, you got to put Kimbrell in so far this year.
Yeah, Kimbrell's been amazing. And I mean, I think we've talked about it on prior podcasts. Like, we're all scared when he comes into the game just because he used to walk guys and take everyone to 3-2. And now he's got pinpoint control. Like, his stuff was always there. It was just controlling that. And I don't think it's crazy to think he can be a Cy Young just because the Red Sox bullpen has been so bad other than him. I mean, if he hasn't been as good as he was, who knows? We could have lost 3 to 4 games because the way this Red Sox team's built, we're winning games 5-2, 5-3, and we need him to shut it down. Along with him, I mean, Greg Holland from the Rockies has been lights out too. It's kind of like these comebacks for these closers who are dominant a couple of years ago, and now they're coming back and putting themselves in the Cy Young race by just being shut out in the 9th inning, almost striking out the side every time they go out there, which is unreal.
Yeah, Greg Holland and the Rockies are really succeeding this season. Greg Holland and Craig Kimbrell were guys who I feel like 4 or 5 years ago, that was like their best years. And suddenly, like you said, they're coming back. We're not going to put them in the "Don't Call It a Comeback" segment, which is for later, but you could seriously do that right now if you wanted to. So the Rockies, right now, they're first place in the NL West. I would say probably 3 weeks ago, I would be like, this is a fluke. Like, they're probably going to finish third, like they always do. They're for real. The Rockies are for real. They seriously could finish first place in this division and finish by like a few games, not like nail biting. They have the potential, if they keep up this pace, to finish like 4 or 5 games ahead of the Dodgers. I really think that. They have the 3rd best record in Major League Baseball right now, behind the Astros and the Nationals. They're 24-15. I would say, I said this before, but I'll say it again. The pitching staff has outperformed their offense so far this season. If you saw that, if you say you saw that coming into this year, I want to punch you in the face because no one expected that.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't name like probably 2 of their starters other than John Gray. So it's like, I mean, the pitching's been great. The bullpen's been great. I mean, Ottavino, Oberg, who's the UConn guy coming out of the bullpen. Holland's been lights out. The starters, they've brought some guys up who have performed well. I mean, Santavella or whatever his name is that pitched yesterday has been unreal. Hoffman, who they just brought up, pitched great versus the Dodgers the other day. And then Freeland, this lefty who's got a weird windup, but he just keeps batters off. I've been watching a lot of Rockies baseball, if you can't tell. Like, yeah, I'm all on board with this team.
Yeah, we both are.
Yeah, we got to ride this because I think this is their year, just because I do think they're going to beat the Dodgers. They're a better overall team. Their lineup does not have one hole in it. They got guys like Pat Valleca replacing Trevor Story. He's hitting 2 home runs. Like,
I know.
Versus the Dodgers. It's just like they got Herrera Parra sitting on the bench. They can bring him off the pinch hit. They have everything they need. Maybe one more starting pitcher, which they can acquire at the deadline since they have so many picks and so many good prospects. But yeah, I'm all on board with them. on this Rockies team.
Do you think they're going to stand pat at the deadline, or do you think they make a move for a decent starting pitcher?
I think they make a move. They're in win now mode just because, they're not led by a lot of young players. I mean, Trevor Story is, but Arenado is probably in his prime right now. Gonzalez is on the back nine of his career. Blackman's probably in the prime. So they want to win now. I mean, this isn't like a 4 to 5 year Mets building system. Their guys are mid to late 20s. They're ready to go. So let's.
No, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I'm big time on the Rockies train now. I had them originally pegged as just missing the wild card. As of right now, if I had to put money on it, I'd probably put money on them winning the division. I think they're better than the Dodgers right now. Their pitching is outperforming expectations. And I think even if the pitching regresses a little bit, the offense is going to start heating up. Their star hitters aren't really doing as well as anybody expected. You got Nolan Arenado with 9 homers, which is great, but he's not having the kind of year he was having last year. Trevor Story has been nothing this season. You mentioned he has a replacement already. He's on the disabled list. We'll get to more of that in a minute. Other star hitters, Carlos Gonzalez, he's heating up now, but he started off terrible this season. Charlie Blackmon's solid. DJ LeMahieu's pretty good, but none of those guys are playing up to their potential. I think we're going to start seeing them heat up later, and that pitching staff, while it might regress a little bit, you got John Gray coming back eventually too. He's been out. So all around, things are looking very promising for this Red Sox team. I mean, not Red Sox. The Red Sox, nothing's looking really promising right now. This Rockies team. So keep an eye on the Rockies for sure. We'll probably tell you that every single week.
The big thing is, too, I know we're not stat guys, but they're 13-10 at Coors Field, which has usually been a haven for them. They're great at home, but they're actually better on the road this year. They're 11-5 on the road. Better on the road than at home. So that bodes well for them moving forward.
Saw another thing tweeted out. I forget the exact numbers and everything, but it was one of those stats accounts, and they tweeted out Nolan Arenado splits home and away, and his away stats are superior to his stats at Coors. So it's not a Coors thing. It's not a fluke. This Rockies team is legit. If you don't think they're legit, then, I mean, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what sport you're watching because you're not watching baseball. The Rockies are the team to watch right now. And we mentioned, I just want to say quick, I'll stand on this bandwagon. The Astros are not as good as everyone thinks they are. They're going to regress, and they'll probably win that division. They're not going to make it far in the playoffs. I'm going to play this clip in an October episode. The Astros are not going to make it past the ALDS. So I want that to be clear. I'm not a believer in the Astros.
Okay, nice.
I just want that out there. I want that on tape. All right, so all right, now I'll cut this. I'm going to message Tom, Dr. Tom.
Dr. Tom.
Yeah, that's his official name. Hopefully this works. I don't know if he has a Google account. You might have to call him, but.
Yeah, you could probably just call him and put him up. Your mic's wicked clear, so I'm sure it would be fine.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If Hangout doesn't work, that's definitely plan B.
Let me see if I can actually.
This is definitely going to be interesting. Your audio just randomly got better, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's it was choppy throughout, and I think it just started getting better now. But I don't know, because sometimes it'll be choppy, but then on the final recording that you send me, it's clear. So that's what I'm hoping anyway.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
If it's bad, then I'll just write a note in the description saying apologies for parts with poor audio quality or something. I'm so excited for this segment. I hope this becomes a thing.
Is he going to give us a breakdown of specific injuries?
I don't think he even knows what he's going to do. I gave him a list of injuries and stuff and all that, and we're going to just go from there.
All right.
Because like when we were at school, he would give like I'd be like, hey, what's the deal with this injury? What does this even mean? And he'd like go off and tell me. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And even if it's bad, that'll be funny. It'll be funny bad. So I don't care. So it might be a minute because it's making him install a plugin or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if it doesn't work out, I'm gonna call him up and hopefully it'll be all right. I only want it to be like 5 minutes. So. I hope we can like get a Colorado fan base.
I know.
Just
the only guy is that Tuma guy or Tuna.
Yeah, too much Tuma.
Every time the Rockies win, he's like tweeting at us like Rocky.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. He's our biggest like actual fan, I think, right now.
Yeah.
Come on, Dr. Tom. What's Trevor Oh, yeah, never mind. I got it. I didn't know what his injury was at first.
Trevor Story, man.
Trevor Story. He's giving me updates right now. It says verifying. I think that sounds like a good thing.
The Chili's that's in my hometown like just friended me on Facebook. They have a Chili's on Facebook.
Wait, what?
The Chili's in my hometown just friended me on Facebook. They have like their own page.
Are you serious?
That's the weirdest thing.
They friended you? They don't have a page? They have like a personal page?
It's like Chili's Glastonbury, like on Facebook.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, good for them.
Yeah,
Getting on social media.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they know what they're doing, but
no, but you got to start someplace.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, Dr. Tom. The anticipation is through the roof.
Dr. Tom.
It's just perfect. It's a perfect name for the podcast. The official podcast, the official doctor of the Eephus podcast, Dr. Tom.
Yeah.
Not a real doctor.
When they have, what's that lady on the fantasy football for ESPN, the blonde-haired girl? I don't know her name, but they have her
is it Sarah Walsh?
No, it's
Stefania Bell.
Stefania Bell, and she like gives a breakdown of injuries.
Yeah, like his hamstring is torn. He's gonna be out for a little while.
Yeah, I don't care what it is. Just let me know how long they're gonna be out.
Yeah. This almost reminds me of like a PTI segment where like in between commercial breaks they have like that little check-in on them like talking and shit.
Yeah. I always get like, I don't know if they even tell Kornheiser or Wilbon when they're gonna do that. They could be talking.
I don't think so.
They could be talking.
Imagine if it like checked in on them and they were just like talking like wicked like dirty shit.
Yeah, did you fuck the production assistant?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the makeup girl walks away. He's like, look at the ass on that girl.
Yeah. And then it just cuts back out to the commercial. Oh my god. That'd be a funny like Barstool parody or something.
Yeah. This is Sports Center commercial.
Yeah, yeah.
ESPN's so PC, they would never do that.
He's typing to me right now. Yeah, imagine that. They're trying to rebrand.
Yeah.
Works on his phone. Okay, perfect. That's fine. We don't need perfect audio quality from him. So
No, I remember whenever I did that Real World podcast with Steve, he would do it through his phone too.
Oh yeah. He did all the podcasts on his phone. He would be doing like the night of, like we recap like the night of the TV show, and he'd be like, yeah so like, I'm like, whatever. You do you, Steve. There's like a baby crying in the background, like.
Yeah. Like, oh. You might want to like deal with that. Like, this isn't that important.
Right. Steve fell off the face of the earth. He's got a good job too, I think, but every now and then he'll randomly pop in with like ideas, and I'm like, all right, Steve, you're still on the team. He'll pop in like every 2 weeks.
I think he became like a gym teacher. He was telling me he's trying to become.
Yeah. Kind of hard to blog when you're like teaching a bunch of middle school kids how to run.
I mean, I remember my gym teachers in high school. Like, we'd go into their room to give them shit, and they'd be on like ESPN. God knows they could be blogging. I don't know. He'd be blogging on his phone while the kids are playing like dodgeball or something.
Yeah. I used to do that. I have the WordPress app, so I would just randomly, if something broke, I would just do that, even though it sucked. All right, he should be arriving. Dr. Tom, I think, is on the way.
Dr. Tom. You should have like a little music for him.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Like entrance music? Yeah, official music of Dr. Tom.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be. Because I've never met him, so I don't know what his vibe is. It could just be like ambulance.
Yeah. Sirens.
Yeah. Dr. Tom in the house.
All right, now introducing Dr. Tom. All right. I was playing my friend and it's Tom. Dr. Tom.
Hello.
All right.
Dr.
So
Tom.
We're not officially starting yet, Tom. So this part's not going to be in the podcast, obviously. All right. So I sent you like the list of injuries and all that shit. So you get the basic point. We're literally just it's gonna be like a 5-minute thing, 5 to 10 minutes, where we're just gonna talk injuries, like give a little like weekly update of injuries. Is that your girlfriend? You're throwing a little.
Yeah.
Hi, Tom's girlfriend. So anyways, we're just going to be talking about that stuff. I gave you like the injury that it is in parentheses. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Like, you don't have to give like scientific answers. Like, pretend that I'm literally, because remember I used to ask you like, what does this injury mean? Like when we roomed together, I'd be like, so what is this? Like, what is that? And you just like give me a little brief thing, and I'd be like, oh, okay. Literally just like that. That's all it's going to be.
Okay.
So you're Dr. Tom. You're the official doctor of the podcast who's not a real doctor. So I just want to that's how we're going to introduce you.
I'll say just so everybody knows I'm not a real doctor.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. So I'll start in a minute. Hold on. Just want to get all the injuries up because it's like a paragraph of injuries that I have here.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm copying it on my computer because
yeah,
it on my phone.
Yeah, and you can swear, by the way, too. It's not like you can swear. It's not like a professional thing.
Okay.
So it's fine. All right, I'll start in like 10 seconds.
I like the partially torn elbow. That's.
Yeah. Like it's not like I said, it's not gonna be like a scientific thing. I don't know the exact injury. It's some sort of torn ligament. I think is it UCL? Is that what it's called?
I mean, yeah. If you want to do Tommy John, that's UCL. I
think he was supposed to get Tommy John or something, but the guy said if he was younger, he would give it to him, but like he's past that point or something. I don't fucking know. I'm shooting from the hip here.
All right.
All right. I'll start in a minute. 3, 2, 1. All right. So we are proud to say that we have an official doctor for this podcast who's not a real doctor. He's an athletic trainer. My former college roommate, Tom, Dr. Tom. Tom, how's it going?
It's definitely going.
It's going. That's great to hear. So how does it feel, first of all, before we get into our little injury update here? How does it feel to be the official doctor who's not a real doctor of the Eephus podcast.
It's definitely a unique privilege, I would say that.
All right.
He's very doctor speak. I like his bedside manner.
Yeah, no, that was very pleasant. So what isn't pleasant, unfortunately, is we have to talk about a bunch of athletes who are having a little rough time right now. They're all on the disabled list with some, it looks like some of them are pretty tough injuries. So for all the listeners out there, Dr. Tom, like I said, is our official, not real doctor of the podcast. He's going to be coming on anytime there's significant injuries. And of course, when he's available, because Dr. Tom has a very tight schedule being a doctor who's not a real doctor. We're going to just go over a list of injuries from big name players. We'll start with David Price, who we already talked about earlier in the podcast. He has a tear in his elbow. I don't really know the scientifics of all of it. The Red Sox seem to be rushing him back a little bit. They're saying he could come back next week. This is coming like 2 weeks after they were saying they didn't have a timetable on it, that he's going to have to rehab and it's going to be a tough road for him. So we kind of disagreed. Zach doesn't think they're rushing him back. I think they are. Just from an athletic trainer / doctor who's not a real doctor standpoint, what's your takeaway from this David Price situation? Having a tear in your elbow doesn't seem like it's really ideal.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in your elbow, and the whole partially torn elbow is a very loose term.
Okay.
So he could have a tear in the muscles, or he could have a tear in the ligament.
Okay.
Obviously.
I think it's a ligament.
Yeah.
So is there any, what's the big difference between tearing a muscle and tearing a ligament? I think a ligament's significantly worse, right?
But, yeah, I mean, ligaments hold the joints pretty much from going beyond their normal range of motion.
Okay.
The muscles just help with creating the different range of motion. Obviously, your elbow is quite important when you're pitching. So,
yeah, it is.
Definitely, probably.
You definitely need it.
Yeah, you need it. It's definitely a serious joint. So probably a decent injury if their initial thought was that he was going to take a long time. But I mean,
right.
If they're rushing him back, obviously they have a lot of medical staff to double check and triple check what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the Red Sox, I don't know if I completely trust their medical staff because they got a list of injuries right now relating to the shoulder area, the elbow area, 2 areas that aren't really ideal to have hurt if you're a professional pitcher. What do you think of, I don't know if it was Farrell who said, no, it wasn't Farrell. Someone announced that one of the doctors said that they would recommend surgery if he was younger. But since I think he's 30 now, I could be wrong. He's roughly around that age. Since he's at that age, they're saying don't bother with surgery, just rest and rehab is the way to go. Why do you think a doctor would say that?
I mean, the older you get, the longer it takes your body to heal.
Got it.
So you hit a certain age and your body just all of a sudden the process just gets slower. So the return play for whatever statistics, whatever surgery you would have, let's just say he went and would have Tommy John surgery. The return to play would probably be longer for him being in his 30s than it would be for somebody who did it when they were 20.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Another Red Sox player who is a real thorn in our side right now is Tyler Thornburg. He has, I don't even know what his injury is. I don't think the Red Sox know. It's something to do with his shoulder. I believe what they're saying right now is that they think it's nerve damage. So I'm going to quote right here from an article I was reading about this injury. It says, quote, Farrell was quick to clarify that by putting the nerve damage issue out there, he didn't want that to become the official diagnosis. Rather, team doctors are exploring all options in an attempt to find the root cause. It's likely another MRI will be taken. An initial MRI at the beginning of the season revealed no structural damage, just the impingement. So if you're reading that, I know you're not a Red Sox fan, but when you're reading that, what is put yourself in a Red Sox fan's position, what is your, I guess, your meter between being optimistic and completely pessimistic about this injury?
I would say probably a little bit leaning towards pessimistic.
I would say so too.
Because, I mean, with all the technology and stuff they have access to, if they're still kind of what it sounds like, scrambling to find something wrong with him, then there's probably something that nobody's. I mean, we're still obviously learning a lot of stuff about the human body. We don't by all means know everything about it. So something like this could be just a rare case that nobody's kind of thinking outside the box where they need to diagnose. And
got it.
Once they do find that, depending on if it is something that they know a lot about or not, then obviously the cause and the return to play will be obviously more, I want to say, more set in stone. I know I've dealt with stuff that we don't know what's going on, or it's something new to us that there's no set protocol for return to play. So
seems pretty crazy, because that's very rare that an injury happens, especially to a pitcher where it's a shoulder and elbow thing, and they're just like, I have no idea what this is. But that leads me to believe that it probably is a nerve issue, because in my mind, my non-athletic trainer, non-doctor, anything professional mind, it seems like, a nerve injury would be much harder to detect and diagnose than, say, a structural injury like that's something an MRI would see. I don't know if MRIs reveal nerve injuries or anything like that. Can you kind of expand on what a nerve injury is like, the experience of having a nerve injury maybe for the athlete, and what it's like as the athletic trainer trying to detect that?
So there are a series of tests that you can do to see how fast your nerves are conducting.
Okay.
That takes a little while to do and then get the answers. And you're thinking about within milliseconds of being like pricked in the finger, going up to your brain and coming back and giving that. So any injury to that nerve can cause it to delay that reaction time, which could be what's going on. He could have just stretched a nerve. A lot of the times people refer to that as a stinger in football and stuff like that, where the main root trunk of the nerve just kind of gets stretched and pulled. And in terms of recovery for nerves, they are definitely a lot slower to recover than muscles and bones and stuff like that.
Very, very terrible news, I feel like, for anyone who was a fan of this Travis Shaw trade for Tyler Thornburg. Thornburg obviously is on a 60-day DL, while the Red Sox just had a series against the Brewers where Shaw has continued his success that he's had all season long. I actually think Shaw just got hurt. I think he might be on the DL now with a finger injury. But that overall, the Brewers have definitely won that trade by a long shot. Thornburg hasn't even had the chance to pitch yet because of this nagging injury. So definitely some pessimistic news between Price and Thornburg for the Red Sox. We will move on to another one, non-Red Sox here, but it's still a team that me and Zach love very much. The Colorado Rockies with Trevor Story. Less serious injury, but he's still put on the 10-day DL. It's a strained left shoulder. Now, if I hurt my shoulder working out or something, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I must have strained it. But it definitely isn't that. It's just me being a pussy probably. So can you tell me what a strained would feel like for someone like Trevor Story, who clearly needs his left shoulder to swing the bat and not bat 180 like he is right now?
So I want to tell you, major leagues, they definitely take things a lot more seriously than just the average Joe. A lot of the times, even if you're just feeling something out of ordinary, but you put that out there to the staff and they shut it down. Because I've 162 games. If you're feeling shoulder discomfort in the first half of the season, playing through it, usually it's not going to stop.
Right.
So it could be from just very mild. I'm assuming if he's only on that 15-day DL or whatever, it's going to be one of those short stints. But obviously in your shoulder, you have a lot of different muscles going on there. So strain, strain is just a fancy word for pull. So he pulled one of the muscles.
So yeah, me and Zach were saying there was a good chance that since he's underperforming this year, this is one of those classic, he goes to DL because it's an excuse for his poor play. I feel like a strained left shoulder is a type of injury where you just get put on the DL for that, even though you don't really have that much wrong with you. Am I correct in saying that? Like, is this considered a very minor injury that he'll be back in no time?
I would say it's mild, but I mean, I obviously don't know what's exactly going on with them.
Right.
I mean, it'd be a lot easier to say that if I worked with them personally, but in experience, strained left shoulders can range from just a mild pull to somebody almost completely tearing that muscle fiber.
Shit. Okay. Hopefully that's not the case for Story.
No, if that was the case, he'd be on the 60-day deal. But
Gotcha.
So I'm assuming he might have a little discomfort in his shoulder, and they're just playing it safe.
Yeah, let's hope so, because Zach might have a meltdown if Trevor Story gets put on the 60-day DL.
Dr. Tom, I have a quick question. Where does HGH sort of lie here? Can it, if someone takes that, can it help them get back quicker? Can it help their muscles recover quicker? Just hypothetical, obviously.
I don't believe so. I don't think they're going to be quick to the draw in terms of trying to use that in the future either, because what that does is it increases the level of testosterone in the person's body, which obviously does help with recovery, muscle strength, and stuff like that. But the use of it for medical rehab wise, I don't think they're even going to start touching that, because you're trying to add in more of what your body already has. You're adjusting the levels.
Yeah, if there's anyone who has experience with HGH and like recovering from injuries and stuff, it's Tom, because he's a Yankees fan, and Andy Pettit kind of went through all that stuff. So we'll move on to another New York team, another shoulder injury. I don't even know how to say this guy's first name. It's like Juris. Zach, help me out here. How do you say this guy's Familia?
Juris.
Juris?
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like Juris, if there's like a fancy like way of saying it, but Familia, closer for the New York Mets. Definitely a more significant shoulder injury than Trevor Story's. He has an arterial clot in his shoulder. Definitely something we don't hear every single day, injury-wise, in MLB. Tom, I think he's supposed to be out for, what did it say, 4 or 5 months or something like that. But arterial clot sounds like it could be deadly. Am I wrong in saying that? Like, anytime I hear clot, I kind of freak out a little bit.
Arterial clot is just a blood clot.
Okay. Just a blood clot? Like, it's not like a significant thing?
I mean, if you're trying to put it into simpler terms, arterial blood clot is just a clot in one of the arteries, which is the blood that's coming from the heart.
So he's just taking blood thinners, and he'll get better?
Yeah, I would say that's probably the main route they're going with right now is blood thinners. But the problem with blood, if you start bleeding or getting an internal bleed from whatever, or an external bleed, it's a lot harder to stop that bleeding.
And I imagine they probably wouldn't want him playing anytime soon under those conditions. So it's probably more of the rehab of it than the chance of him hurting himself on the mound or something. It's more of just recovering. Yeah,
because you think about it, when you're exercising or you're pitching, your heart rate spikes, right? You get adrenaline when you're starting to pitch in the major leagues. That spike, right, that makes your blood pressure, increases it, and that increases any risk of the bleeding to happen again, especially if you're on that blood thinner. So
gotcha.
I'm gonna wait for him to go through the course of blood thinners, and then have his body kind of go back before they even.
Gotcha. That's good to have Dr. Tom on here, because I never would have, I don't think, when I read arterial clot, I think serious injury that could have like deadly risks, and that's just where my brain goes. So it's good to have Dr. Tom on here to kind of keep me in line.
Another note on that too.
Yeah.
The artery away from the brain, away from the heart, right? So if that means the blood is still going away from the heart, if it was in a vein, it would be going back towards the heart. So that clot can actually slip. Going through the body.
Oh boy.
So it can go to the brain, it can go to the lungs, it can go to the heart. So that's definitely something that you need to be very considerate treating.
All right. Well, thankfully that isn't the case for Familia. But the Mets right now are an absolute. We've covered this the past 2 weeks. They're an absolute mess. Yoenis Cespedes is hurt too. He has a hamstring strain that's been nagging him for, it seems like, a little over a month now. I don't think the Mets have a timetable for his return still. I actually think he might even have a back issue now. I'm not 100% sure about that, but that's one of the articles I read. A hamstring strain, I already talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how this is one of the most nagging injuries, especially in baseball, but in all of sports. Walk me through what an athlete is dealing with when they have a hamstring strain.
Obviously, you use your hamstrings in pretty much anything you do.
Right.
But the hamstring strain, it is one of those muscle groups where when you have that injury, it creates like a scar tissue. So if he's had previous hamstring strain issues, those issues don't just go away. Obviously, you can strengthen the muscle and do all the rehab for it, but it makes it just easier for the strain to come back or make stuff worse. And especially when you start feeling it, especially when they're performing and putting out the outputs that they do with those muscles, it's
gotcha.
I mean, coming back and trying to go full force is only going to make it worse. And
right, so it's more one of those things that's just so easy to re-injure. So that's why it's taking him so long to come back. Not necessarily because it's a significant injury, but because the chances of re-injury are high. Is that pretty much what you're saying?
I mean, that's definitely probably a factor to it. I don't know. Obviously, you can have a pretty decent strain to the muscle,
right.
Especially with the strength that he has. So it could be a little bit of both, to be honest.
Got it. The Mets, one more Mets injury. 60-day DL for Noah Syndergaard. He has bone spurs in his elbow. There are a lot of elbow injuries in this sport. Bone spurs, you don't hear that very often, I feel like. So what are bone spurs like? Is Noah Syndergaard dealing with a worse situation than, say, someone who might need Tommy John surgery? Because a 60-day DL stint is no joke. Bone spurs sound like they're no joke. So what are bone spurs like in an elbow? How can a pitcher rehab from that? What is the road looking like for Noah Syndergaard right now?
So bone spurs are basically, they're just an extra growth on your bone. So all your muscles come and insert right onto the bones, and that's how you get the pull for the different motions. So a lot of the times when you have that overuse, the muscles keep pulling, which makes calcium come to that spot, increasing the spot where that muscle is inserting. So it just is pretty much an extra growth of the bone.
Got it.
It can cause pain, which I'm assuming, obviously, in the 60-day DL, then it's probably what's going on.
He also has a torn lat, too, which I'm sure doesn't help.
No, that's definitely
partially torn lat combined with that. Doesn't seem like he'll be back anytime soon. But
now, if the bone spurs get big enough and painful enough, they can actually go into surgery and shave it down.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's not what's going to happen. They're going to try to do conservative first, and that's just kind of rehabbing and doing basic tricep exercises from, if that's where the spur is, where his tricep is, most of the time that's where the elbow bone spurs happen.
When do you think Syndergaard will be back pitching for the Mets? Judging by, he's on the 60-day DL, so not anytime soon. But are bone spurs something that can keep him out potentially all season, or do you expect him back? Like, when do you expect Syndergaard to be back?
I would say the earliest he would be back would probably be, I would say August would be very optimistic.
So around right after the trade deadline, kind of that area?
Yeah, maybe a little bit longer, depending on how long.
Okay.
As Syndergaard's obviously one of their prized possessions.
Right,
so
yeah.
If the season's already lost or if they're already down, I don't know if they'll just try to wait and be very conservative with him too.
Got it. Bad news for the Mets all around. Noah Syndergaard is their ace. Without him, the Mets really aren't going anywhere. Not only for the playoffs, but in that division, they need Noah Syndergaard. So all around, the Mets are screwed this season. We've talked about that. We beat that to death the past couple of weeks. But a team that's not screwed this season, at least by the looks of it so far, are your New York Yankees, Tom. I'm sure you're pretty excited about how they've been playing.
Yeah.
However, Aroldis Chapman, he has rotator cuff inflammation. I hear torn rotator cuffs all the time. Is rotator cuff inflammation signs that he could be on the verge of a torn rotator cuff, or is this more of just something like a minor injury? I saw he might be out a month. Is this something that can nag him all year, or do you think he'll be back pitching full strength in a month?
When they usually use that rotator cuff inflammation tag, a lot of the times it's tendonitis,
Okay.
Which is treatable. The best way to treat that is with rehab and rest. So that's why he's going to be out for at least 2 weeks, is what I saw.
Right. Okay.
They have to go through a throwing program because when you have tendonitis, it's the inflammation in the tendon. It's not the muscle itself. So, I mean, he's been dealing with it for a couple of weeks because from what I heard, he didn't tell anybody, which is a...
well, that's classic Chapman for you. Doesn't seem like the type who would be very good at communicating, but that's not a racist comment. That's just Chapman has a very bad attitude. So,
from what I'm hearing, he just thought it would go away, which is one of the biggest mistakes athletes can have, because if they're using their shoulder all the time, why would you think a pain in your shoulder would go away? I mean,
that doesn't seem like a great idea on Chapman's part, but rotator cuff inflammation, as a Yankees fan, when you hear that Chapman has that, are you kind of brushing that off as and he'll be back in no time and pitching full strength? Or what's your worry level at right now?
It's definitely not very high. I obviously would have him for the month that he would be out, but I don't believe that it's going to be something that's going to ruin his season.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's a plus for Yankees fans. Everything seems to be going right for the Yankees right now. I mean, you just had Derek Jeter's number retired. Before we're going to have you sign off in a second, Tom, I want your quick take on Derek Jeter. Just give me 2 sentences about Derek Jeter right now.
I just think he's one of the few people who play the game the right way, especially in a atmosphere that has become media friendly. No offense to all the media people, but it's a lot of more stuff is getting out that people didn't really have access to, and he was one of those people that you never really heard a bad thing about.
I love it. That's a classic Yankee fan comment. The very beginning of that, the play the game the right way, but you wrap that up nicely. I do agree with the latter part of what you just said. Dr. Tom, thank you for coming on for your first ever appearance. We definitely plan on having you back in the future as a kind of a recurring guest, the official doctor who's not a doctor of the podcast, of the Eephus. Happy to have you on. Hopefully we have less injuries to talk about in the future, because that seemed like a lot of injuries to some significant players. But yeah, so that's it, Dr. Tom. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
See you, Dr. Tom.
See you.
All right.
Dr. Tom.
I love Dr. Tom. That segment, if it's a little shorter, has some serious potential. I'm going to have the sirens in when we at the very beginning to introduce them.
That's such a good contrast, because like the sirens, and then he's like very low key and like explaining the injury,
like calm. Yeah. I love it.
Every time he describes it,
all right. So I'm gonna say
just siren it. Like every time he.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He goes like, Chapman, it's not really that big of a deal, and then just put sirens in there. Oh my god. All right. So I'm going to segue into Jeter in a second. I'm just going to try to make it smooth. All right. So Derek Jeter, like we just said, got his number retired. The Yankees, they just retire everybody's number nowadays. I don't want to talk too much about this because it seems like every other month is Derek Jeter. It's Derek Jeter Day. I don't get it. We've been talking about his retirement for 3 years now. Whatever. Derek Jeter, good player, overrated. I'm sick of talking about him. He apparently tried to buy the Marlins, and now he can't even buy the Marlins or something. So Derek Jeter's all over the place right now, but it almost seems like retiring his number now was like a PR move to steer away from all the Marlins talk and everything. I know it wasn't, but that's how it's coming off to me. So yeah, I'll give you a little Derek Jeter take. Me and you both don't give a fuck because we're A, Red Sox fans, and B, we've heard this Jeter shit a million times.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, Nomar was better for both in their prime. That's just my opinion now. But Jeter, I mean, he played the game the right way and all that stuff, and he kind of kept his off the field stuff to himself. But I don't even think he likes to be a center of attention. Like last night in the ceremony putting him into Monument Park, he had a very brief speech. He doesn't like to engage in a ton of sort of spotlight gleaning on him. He's more of a team guy, which I've always respected from him. And he's one of those guys that just he's like a Craig Biggio. Like he just played a shit ton of years, so he just obviously aggregated a bunch of stats. All the hits he got. I mean, obviously he was a great player, but I think he's a little bit overrated in terms of he was great, but he was playing in New York as a Yankee. He's a good-looking guy. He's a man about town, so that kind of made him larger than life.
Basically, this is my Jeter take, and then we're gonna move on. Good player, overrated. Had a lot of hot girls who went in and out of his house with gift baskets, and he was pretty good. All right, so we'll move on to Tim Tebow, who's also been pretty good. Maybe not to Jeter's level, but he's on the verge of maybe being promoted to AA. We promise that as long as he's relevant, we're going to have Tebow updates on this podcast. So Tim Tebow might be brought up to AA, which is something you've wanted to see. I know that for a while now. Just that little promotion to AA, not a big deal, but kind of a big deal because it's Tim Tebow. He's been tearing the cover off the ball recently. He's batting over 350 in the past week, I believe. So Tim Tebow staying right in the thick of things.
Yeah, I heard a report the other day. I don't know what I was listening to, that the Mets were thinking about promoting him like up to AAA and maybe the major leagues, which I think
that would be stupid.
I don't know who was saying that, but someone was saying that based on the injuries that we talked about with Dr. Tom. So, I would love to see him in AA. I mean, I'd go if he came to play the Hartford Yard Goats. I'd go see him play. I'd get some footage for the Eephus. Maybe get him to sign an autograph or something. That'd be great. And maybe
invite him on the show.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be huge. Not much else to say about Tebow except keep an eye on him. I mean, he still is in single A for the Columbia Fireflies, whose manager is for some reason a spitting image of me and has the same last name as me, so kind of creepy. But that's the story with Tebow right now. Just keep an eye on him. I know we are. We're gonna have the Tebow watch going until he falls off the face of the earth, which it doesn't look like is happening anytime soon. Probably the best game of the past week. Giants-Reds went 17 innings. A lot of walk-offs this week. This was one of them. Buster Posey walked it off for the Giants. It kind of ended a schneid for the Giants. The Giants still suck, but, I mean, they needed to win this game. Otherwise, they'd be completely demoralized, going 17 innings and losing in that fashion. So they won. That being said, there's, talks that MLB might incorporate ties to avoid these long games from happening. If that happens, I think we'd have to start a riot of some sort. I don't. That is the stupidest idea I've ever heard. We've covered a lot of bad Rob Manfred rule proposals, but allowing ties in baseball has to be the worst one of them all.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the stupidest thing. I mean, I'm a soccer fan, and I think ties are stupid. And there's ties all the time. Baseball's not a game that should be decided on ties. Then you get into these tiebreaker type of things at the end of the season when teams are decided by, one game here, one game there. So I think it's a stupid rule. What I want to see is after the ninth inning, if it's tied, you pick one batter, they get 10 pitches, home run derby. Let's go. Let's do it. That's what I want to see. I want to see the game decided by the long ball. You get 10 pitches from your own, whoever throws BP for your team throws 10 pitches, and you pick one batter. And again, whoever has the most home runs wins. I think that's, if we're going to make rule changes, let's make it fun for everyone so we can go home and we'll get more souvenirs in the stands.
You know what? I'm usually one of those guys who's don't change the game. If there's going to be any change at all, extra innings wise, just make that be it. I don't want change at all, but if you're going to change anything, I couldn't agree more. That'd be electric to watch. I don't think the players would like that, just because a lot of them complain that home run derbies mess with their swing and so on, so they don't want to participate. But God, if that would be one of the most exciting things to watch, especially in I know it would never happen, but a wild card playoff game or something, watching it come down to almost a home run derby shootout would be must-watch television. So probably won't happen, but I think that's a rule proposal. That's an Eephus rule proposal right there. I think if we can get on the phone with Manfred for 5 minutes, I think that's something we'd have to propose to him. A guy who would thrive, Harper. If it ever came down to a shootout like that, a home run derby shootout, the Nationals would probably win 10 out of 10 of those games. Bryce Harper just signed a 1-year, almost $22 million deal with the Nationals. I think it's the highest ever deal for arbitration eligible player. He would have been heading to that at the end of the season, but they avoided that by signing this kind of strange deal. I'll say that. It's a little strange. That being said, it's a shitload of money for Harper, so props to him. Don't know if you have anything really in particular to say about that, but 1 year, $22 million for Bryce Harper.
Yeah, I think it makes sense given the arbitration year like you talked about, and he'll probably test free agency and get, the Brinks truck backed up from a bunch of teams. So we'll see if he wants to stay loyal to the Nets or he wants to go to the Yankees, which everyone's been rumoring. That'll be the free agency period everyone will be talking about. But I know, he's been hitting the crap of the ball lately in his April, May, like he usually does every season. But I know you kind of wanted to have your rant on Bryce Harper, so why don't you do it? I'll sit back and grab popcorn.
Yeah, I know you asked me before we recorded why I was doing this. I just need to get it out of my system right now. It's just going to be a mini rant. I'm not going to go off completely because I do like Bryce Harper as a player. But God, every year, I mean, he had that MVP season, which was outstanding. All the power into the world, like all the props in the world to him for that season. It was fantastic to watch him play at that level. But God, can we get past May before we say Bryce Harper's back? Because last year, around this time, he was doing that exact same thing. I think around this time last year, probably this exact time, he was in a series against the Cubs, and he got walked like 15 times in that series. His on-base percentage shot from like 350 to like 500 or something ridiculous like that. So he was doing this last year too. And then we're still having this Bryce Harper is back talk when we don't know. We're less than a month and a half into the season. Let's get to like the end of June, maybe July, before we start saying Bryce Harper's back and in the MVP race. It's ridiculous to me that we have this issue constantly with Harper outside of that one outlier year where he won MVP, where everyone thinks he's God's gift to earth. It's insane. But I guess that's what comes with being the most marketable player in baseball. Mike Trout's doing, like, his stats are just below Harper's right now, and I don't hear a peep about Trout because people are so used to Trout succeeding. That's my mini rant. Pump the brakes on Harper to at least the end of June for the love of God. I can't stand all the Harper love that he constantly gets. The outstanding player, but let's just get into the end of June. Christ. All right, so that's my rant of the week for Bryce Harper. We might have to have that be like a weekly segment because I was like foaming at the mouth there talking about Bryce.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Oh my God. So yeah, that was like, I spoke from the heart there. I'm actually proud of how I came off there because that's exactly how I feel about Harper. Let's just give it a rest for a few weeks, please. So we'll move on to duds. Dud of the week. I'll let you go first because mine's not even exciting. Who's your dud of the week?
Let me see here. My dud of the week. Yeah, there wasn't too many duds this week. I mean, there usually is a bunch of duds. So I picked the guy that I just don't like, and he's kind of having a bad season. So another San Francisco Giant. I just have a ton of hate for that team. Obviously, I kind of went off on Hunter Pence earlier in the season, but Eduardo Nunez from the Giants. This guy is the biggest joke of a player. He had like a good month and a half, 2 months of last season, and then like suddenly he became a name. Yeah, like they traded for him from the Twins when they were struggling, and they're like, "Oh, the game changer in the lineup, Eduardo Nunez." It's like, no, you're playing him in left field. He makes a couple errors like every week. He's just always running after the ball. Like he just doesn't know what he's doing up there. He's hitting 250. 0 home runs, 9 RBIs. His OPS is 592. It's just absolutely terrible for a guy that, you expect to hit 20 to 25 home runs. That's what the Giants expect. So, start of the week, Eduardo Nunez, former Yankee great, who's kind of on the Giants now and struggling big time.
Yeah, he's a huge dud. Not once did I ever believe that Nunez would be a game changer in any sense of the word. So I can only imagine that front office for the Giants being like, "Fuck, what were we thinking?" The Twins, meanwhile, the Twins are like, have fun with that. So my dud is Kevin Kiermaier for all the mentions we mentioned, all the things we mentioned earlier. Just a terrible week from him all around. And that combined with the fact he's kind of mediocre at the plate turns him into a very below average player if you combine those two things. So I don't expect it to last for Kiermaier, but he's definitely my dud, mainly because, like you said, it's been tough to find a dud this week.
Yep, totally agree. I mean, Kiermaier has been, he's a dud on the field, but I'm sure he's not a dud off the field. I'm sure he's still cleaning.
No way. I have heard, though, there are rumors. I read some rumors that he is a name searcher on Twitter. If you talk any shit about Kevin Kiermaier, don't even have to add him. He'll block you. So we might have to test that out on the Eephus. We'll get back to you and see if he blocks us. We'll let you know. Don't call it a comeback. I'll go first with this one. So I have a team and a player here. The team, I'll go quick. It's Toronto Blue Jays. They're only 6.5 games back right now. So don't call it a comeback with them. The Blue Jays, I said last week, and I regret it, that they're going to finish at the bottom of the division. I changed my mind. They kind of surged this past week. And now I think, now I'm probably going to change my mind a million times throughout, this year. But, yeah, they're not going to finish at the bottom. That's the Rays division to finish at the bottom. They'll finish in the middle. I still don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
You got to pick it and stick it, man.
I know. But they're only 6.5 games back now, so they really are making a run. Jose Bautista's heating up a little bit, so I have them. My player, not really exciting of a pick, but I noticed he is technically back. It's Carlos Carrasco. He has a 1.86 ERA, 0.77 WHIP. He's right back to form. I struggled hard to find players this week for these segments, but Carlos Carrasco, he had injuries at the end of last year. So he is back, and he is pitching to the best of his ability, which is a great sign for an Indians team that everyone expected to be right up there with the Nationals and the Astros and the top tier teams, but kind of underperformed this season.
Yeah, Carrasco should be back, and hopefully he'll propel the Indians to where they should be, because they've definitely been underperforming a little bit, especially Encarnacion as well. My don't call it comeback is pretty bad as well. Not a big name guy, but I noticed he was back in the major leagues. Eric Sogard.
Oh yeah, that's a great pick. Shit.
Second baseman for the A's a while ago. He wore glasses. He kind of had a whole nerd vibe going on in Oakland. They loved him out there. He's on the Brewers apparently. He just got called up and he hit a big homer over the weekend to get a win for them. Congrats to Eric Sogard. I know it's a grind when you're a major leaguer, then you have to work your way back up through the minors with another team. So glad to see him back in the major leagues. I always kind of liked him as a player. He's definitely underestimated, but I think he's here to stay, at least with the Brewers.
That's a fantastic pick. I'm jealous that you got to pick him, because he flew. I saw the updates that he was back, and it didn't even occur to me to put him as my don't call it a comeback. So good call with him. My main Eric Sogard memory is when they had that little who's the face of baseball competition, and it was like a Twitter thing for a while to vote Eric Sogard, and I think he won. I forget who he was facing in the finals, but I think Eric Sogard won the face of baseball competition, and that's my main Eric Sogard memory, and that was one of the funnier things in Twitter history for me anyways. We'll move on to when you're hot, you're hot. We'll wrap it up there. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I think the guy I picked this week is the definition of when you're hot, because he's literally never hot in his whole career. It's Caleb Joseph, catcher for the Orioles.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
I mean, coming into this year, he's been in the majors for 4 or 5 years. He's a career 220 hitter. This past week, he's hitting 524 with 6 ribbies. 6 ribbies this week. He has 86 his whole career. So it's when you're hot, you're hot. Caleb Joseph is hot this week. So hopefully that can continue for the Orioles, because his bat was kind of nothing before this. So
yeah, I think Caleb Joseph in his career is most known for that time he got nailed in the balls by a foul tip against the Red Sox. I don't know if you remember that, but that's probably the main Caleb Joseph story of his career. So when you're known for that, never a good thing.
And he said when he said after the Machado thing, he's I just want to get out of Boston. That was him. He's I just want the series to end, because he knew he was going to get in some sort of fight with someone charging the mound or something.
Yeah, and he also said something, I don't remember the exact word, and I'm mad that I can't remember it, but he wouldn't swear like Machado at all. He would. Oh, I remember it now. He said that it was a bunch of malarkey that that Kevin Gausman got ejected from that game. So Caleb Joseph is a wild card. Had a great week, so good for him. That's a good pick for when you're hot, you're hot. My pick is Yonder Alonso of the Oakland A's, hitting bombs. He has 12 homers. His OPS is over 1,000. It's at 1040 right now. He's batting 291, so it's not a flukish thing. He's batting almost 300 right now on the Oakland A's. I didn't know Yonder Alonso was even on the A's before this season, and suddenly he's one of the better players in the American League right now. He has an OPS that's higher than guys like Nolan Arenado and I believe Chris Bryant, like these superstar players. Yonder Alonso is beating them in offensive categories right now. Don't really expect it to last throughout the season at all, but that's why they call it when you're hot, you're hot. So Yonder Alonso takes that title for me this week.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength because I just picked him up in fantasy baseball, and he was just sitting there. I'm like, this guy is mashing. So I picked him up and I'm starting him. So great for Yonder Alonso.
And it's great for A's fans who are paying that $20 to go to games. So yeah, we'll wrap it up there. As always, follow us on Twitter at Eephus Pod. Post a ton of content there as usual. Follow us on like us, I should say, on Facebook. If you just search Eephus Pod, you should be able to find us fairly easily. Subscribe on iTunes. Leave a review. If you leave a funny 5-star review, we'll talk about it on the podcast. Give you a little credit. So yeah, Zach, on that note, we'll call it a podcast and we'll be back next week.
Yep. See you next week.
See you later.